Good day everyone, Dr. Blab here. It's been almost 6 months since I last touched a psychological topic, and nearly 3 years since my last psychological analysis. This next chapter is long overdue. For those unfamiliar with my work, hi, I'm a psychologist, and I created this channel to showcase how well written Arknights characters are. So well written in fact, that we can analyze them psychologically. I always knew who I'd analyze next, and with Geralter just around the corner, it's time to explore just how much of a mess Lappland's mind truly is. This is a psychological analysis of Lappland, Saluzzo. Lappland, one of the release operators with barely any backstory, but with a personality that screamed mentally unstable. She hinted at Texas past, Syracuse's dark dealings, and a world where people beyond the sarcasm care little for safety, homeopathy, or good taste. Over time, we learn more about her. Not only does she have great taste, she's dripping. Oh, and she also does care about following social norms. Kind of. Her story has been 5 years in the making, from background lore sprinkled across various operators to the major event of Il Siracusano, one of the best side stories to date. That event, along with the promotional manga for its continuation, finally gave us what I always wanted, a glimpse into Lappland's mind. But let's take things in order, beginning with... Il Siracusano finally laid bare Syracuse's inner workings, the corrupt system managing it, and the shift towards a new era. And at the heart of it all, the White Wolf herself. Though Texas had the spotlight, Lappland pulled strings from the shadows, moving people, gangs, and even trucks through walls to keep things in motion. But in order to understand her, we need to examine how she became who she is. I will spoil it now, it is all this shit-stain's fault. Granted, the life of a mafioso can be good for someone's psyche, period. But this guy here went and said, hold my orange. Lappland Saluzzo, heir to the Saluzzo familia, was shaped from childhood into the perfect tool for her father, Alberto Saluzzo, who punished her for even the smallest of infractions in the most over-the-top ways possible. She found a cute mascot to care for, make her watch as it passes before her eyes, took a friend to a rooftop to show the sights, locked her up with a mangler beast, failed an assassination attempt he himself snitched on, demote and emotionally wreck her. The standard Saluzzo upbringing method. To summarize, Alberto is a coward who created a monster he couldn't control, tried to dispose of it multiple times, failed, and ultimately abandoned it, pretending it was never his problem. I'd love to analyze him more just to tear more into him, but giving him attention is exactly what he'd want. So let's move on. We now have enough information about her past to explain why Lappland became who she is. But that's just part 1 of 3. Lappland undoubtedly witnessed countless atrocities, beyond those inflicted by her father. Psychologically speaking, those belonging to the familia have to undergo emotional desensitization in order to survive. Others' pain, irrelevant. Personal beliefs, secondary. Your life only matters for the familia. Various studies prove that this way of life erases individual identity, turning members into just another cog in the machine. To compensate, mafiosi inflate their egos with luxury, excess, and debauchery, to convince themselves their actions have meaning. But the mafia knows how to break people, especially their own. When someone becomes too unruly, they are cast out. For most mafiosi, this is a fate worse than death, losing their group, their purpose. Many crawl back or self-destruct. Others, out of spite or guilt, turn to the authorities. Alberto banked on this when he expelled Lappland, expecting her to either beg for return or end on the streets. Neither happened. Why? Because unlike most, Lappland never let the familia break her. In fact, every punishment only made her more unruly. This brings us to the third and most defined part of the puzzle, that being antisocial personality disorder, APD, better known as sociopathy, is the presence of a chronic and pervasive disposition to disregard and violate the rights of others. Manifestations include repeated violations of the law, exploitations of others, deceitfulness, impulsivity, aggressiveness, reckless disregard for the safety of self and others, and irresponsibility, accompanied by lack of guilt, remorse, and empathy. It is among the most heavily researched of the personality disorders and the most difficult to treat. Standard symptoms of APD include repeatedly breaking laws and ignoring others' rights, chronic lying and manipulation, acting without thinking, aggression and hostility, neglecting responsibilities, struggling to understand others' emotions, feeling no guilt for harm caused, and using charm or wit for personal gain. Lappland neatly checks every box. Whether sociopathy is innate or developed is debatable, but in Lappland's case, it doesn't matter, she has it. Nurtured by the constant violence, she became what she is today. Learning two things: violence makes right, and trust no one but yourself. That is, until a certain Texan cardboard come into her life. Alberto likely encouraged their friendship to maintain appearances, never expecting his wild beast of a daughter to genuinely connect with Texas. And yet, she did. Texas, unlike Lappland, was prized and recognized, an heir who lived up to expectations. This sparked a one-sided rivalry, not out of hate, but out of curiosity. Texas was the perfect Syracusan, yet she hated her life, while Lappland, who thrived in the chaos, was constantly punished. This cycle kept both of them in amicable terms, to the point either would go and save the other. Then Texas pulled an Itachi and wiped out her family. That's when Lappland snapped. She couldn't comprehend it. If Texas was perfect, why did she throw it all away? What made her so different? Lappland didn't resent her. She just had to know. Like, literally. Her mental condition didn't allow her to understand Texas' pain. This, of course, cost Lappland her place as a Saluzzo, an act that she would be grateful for, as she too achieved the freedom she also longed for. But while Texas tried to ignore her past and live a new life somewhere far away, Lappland kept chasing after her. Not to hunt her down though, but rather her own twisted way of camaraderie. Not letting her forget where she comes from, but neither trying to incite conflict head-on. Heck, it is implied that she even got to meet the rest of the Penguin girls and its inimical enough terms with them, all while claiming that she wanted the old Texas back. What she meant by that? I think she was trying to prove a point. That Texas was never good to be a mafiosi, ergo making Lappy the top wolf, a fixation she couldn't forget, yet neither could she ever act upon it, as it would mean breaking her one and only friendship. Since then, she's been following Texas, not to kill her, but as a twisted form of companionship, keeping her connected to Syracuse. Now, with all of this information, comes the moment of truth. Can she even be treated? Unsurprisingly, standard treatments for sociopaths and mafiosi are quite similar. Due to the regular risk of working with violent individuals, the regular treatments include cognitive behavioral therapy, restructuring beliefs about violence and relationships, schema therapy, addressing childhood trauma, restorative justice therapy, to confront past actions, all with the security and protection required for the therapist in turn. However, I don't think any of these will work. Due to Lappland's own experiences, she will never care about letting go of her violence, for it is what has brought her this far. Heck, it is because of her that New Volcini even exists. That's quite an ego boost. She will not care for the experiences of others, for she has suffered just as much. She will even be grateful for the constant abuse her father put her through, as it is what made her realize how much stronger she actually is. In her mind, she's at the top of the world, and no one will be able to tell her what to do. And even the very fact of placing a guard alongside the therapist will be seen as a sign of weakness. One of the things we have seen and read regarding Lappland is how she will act cordial and friendly in public, yet constantly prodding to see how much can she push everyone's buttons. For her, this is a game, the law of the jungle. If you can't endure a jab or two, then you are not worthy of her time. Yet despite all of this, I still believe there is a possibility. As mentioned, Lappland has no attachment, other than one. Nor has she shown any will to form a long-lasting connection, only rivalries and a drive to prove she is top wolf. In her own words, she likes power and those who wield it, and Rhodes is full of them. This love of power is what can finally break through. So my suggestion is none other than the humble group therapy. Not to reform her, I doubt that could be possible, but to show her that there are ways to live beyond destruction. Quote, treatment of psychological problems in which two or more participants interact with each other on both an emotional and a cognitive level in the presence of one or more psychotherapists who serve as a catalyst, facilitators, or interpreters. The approach varies, but in general they aim to provide an environment in which problems and concerns can be shared in an atmosphere of mutual respect and understanding. Group therapy seeks to enhance self-respect, deepen self-understanding, and improve interpersonal relationships. Of course, those involved will need to cover certain criteria. They will have to fit Lappland's definition of strength, either to prove their worth on her eyes, or defend themselves if things get too heated, and be able to share their own experiences in a way she will actually care. Individuals who have gone through similar cycles of violence or know how to deal with unruly individuals like her could be the best candidates. Of course, also a very skilled therapist able to manage such individuals. And definitely not anyone once harmed by her or her family. That will just be salt on the wound. If enough advance is made, then other of the previous mentioned procedures could be implemented in tandem to support her progress. She will still push the buttons of those around her and try to see how to get things her way. Her brain is wired in such a way. However, she will also come to understand, if not how to respect others, that actions have consequences, without having to beat said knowledge into her. Though getting her off her high horse might require one. As mentioned, violence and scheming had kept her alive this far, so getting her to adopt a different point of view will lead to some harsh convincing. And who knows, maybe she gets a rude awakening in the incoming event. But that's what I think. This one has been in the making for a very long time, and I hope it properly delivered. What do you think? Can Lappland change? Or is she better as a force of chaos? Let me know in the commentaries down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. This has been Dr. Blob, thanking you for watching. And until next time, whenever it might be, stay healthy everyone.